Hi there, I'm Connor, I'm Off the Cuff, and today I am talking to you about the Divergent series, Allegiant. Allegiant takes place right after Insurgent, where a settlement that claims to have been observing Chicago, that seems, as far as these people are concerned, the only last city remaining. They've been watching them their entire lives, and now some people are going to go out and see who these people are, but other people want to stay within Chicago, try to reestablish order after the death of Kate Winslet in the last movie, and some people don't agree with this, so there's a bit of a conflict going within Chicago, but people do get out and try to make contact with these people. So, what do I think of Allegiant? I should probably go into what I thought of the other Divergent movies. The first Divergent is a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. I will admit it's not a great movie. It's not even that good, but I don't think it's bad. I think there's a bit of a lower budget, comparatively, to other young adult dystopian sci-fi movies. It's a little bit of lower budget. I think there's a bit of a way about how it's made that I don't think we see anymore. It's very character and internal instead of plot. It's more about, exploring this world, which I actually did find to be somewhat interesting, and all these weird factions. And I mean, it wasn't the best thing ever, but it was something kind of interesting. And then, of course, the plot kicked in the last 20 minutes, and the last 20 minutes of the movie were bad. And then Insurgent, the sequel, really felt like one of those late 90s, early 2000s Matrix cyber sci-fi action movie knockoffs. Felt very dated and was not good. And then now we have Allegiant, and Allegiant, it's terrible. This is worse than Insurgent, and there's a lot that I don't like about this. First off, a lot of this movie is about exploring what's outside the wall, and it's basically a wasteland. Not called the Scorch, no, this time it's called the Fringe. And this post-apocalyptic landscape, there's nothing really new about it. And I know people are going to say, well, that's what it's like in the book, though. Yeah, but this is the realm of movies, and we're seeing a lot of these post-apocalyptic landscapes, and it's just going to get swept away in the flood of generic. Because, I mean, this looks like discount Mad Max. It looks like the Scorch Trials beat it to the punch as far as boring deserts go. And then this movie is divided into three subplots. The first subplot is about Triss, played by Shailene Woodley, who is sleepwalking through this performance as she hangs out. Really, once the ball gets rolling, she starts hanging out with Jeff Daniels. And she's 100% pure, and she's the only one who can help everyone. Although, can we trust Jeff Daniels? Because he is a grown-up, after all. We're not sure if we can trust him. I mean, Kate Winslet was a grown-up. We couldn't trust her. Naomi Watts is a grown-up, and we can't really trust her in this movie either. So that whole thing was very underdeveloped because we're really kept in the dark about what is happening with Triss and Jeff Daniels, and we're thinking there's something that we're not being told, maybe something's up, but no, we're actually showing everything that they know, but it's just not given enough screen time that we don't really know we think there's more happening than there actually is. The second subplot is concerning Four, which it's still weird to me that that's his name. A character's name is Four. And him and the other people who escaped, like Miles Teller and Ansel Elgort and Zoe Kravitz, they are working kind of within the militia of this settlement that has been observing, and how they're going out and rescuing people from the Scorch. No, the Fringe, I'm sorry. I actually got that confused. So then it becomes a bit of a caper. What's really going on here? Can these adults be trusted? This is a YA dystopian sci-fi movie after all. And then this one really provided a lot of uninspired action scenes and a lot of very bad special effects, which I'll get into later. And then the third subplot is concerning Naomi Watts, who's established control over Chicago, but then Octavia Spencer doesn't really like what's going on, so she departs. And then there's a clash in ideology between the two. There's apparently a war going on in Chicago that we're just not really shown. It's kind of like how in Mockingjay Part 2, how they're like, oh my god, there's this gigantic battle happening right now. But we're not going to show you that because we got to show Katniss and company playing mop-up and filming propaganda for a war that's pretty much ending. But anyways, that's what this reminded me of. Was we see Octavia Spencer and Naomi Watts have a couple of discussions, and they keep talking about this war, but we don't actually see any of that. And then we kind of see a little bit of that towards the end, and then it becomes very important in the third act of, oh, I guess there's a war happening. You could have fooled me. Of course, all of these are underdeveloped, and we're not exactly sure what is, like, how much we're actually being shown is true, and these all feel underdeveloped because they're all trying to make way for the other subplots, the other two subplots, and then it becomes a bit of a chicken or the egg. So there's three subplots that are underdeveloped, and they're underdeveloped because it feels like there's too much going on for the 2-hour runtime. And it feels like there's too much going on because there is three subplots. And so ultimately the big solution here, cut things out. You know, make this more streamlined, make it more focused, give it a better story. But that's not what we get here. And then, of course, these three subplots resolve and reach a conclusion in a very unsatisfying way because they weren't very developed, and as a result, we couldn't get attached. There's also no characters here. Four and Triss, his name's Four. So Four and Triss have a conversation at the beginning of the movie about faith and like you know, it's not like they don't actually talk about faith, but what they're talking about is, you know, trying to provide the theme of faith. How Triss has faith and Theo James doesn't, and he needs to see something to believe something. We don't get any development on that at all. We don't within this movie, and so that's never developed, and that's the only theme that this thing was even trying to get at. So that was frustrating, and the performances aren't that good either. I mean, they're all very just going through the motions, not very interesting, except for Miles Teller. Now, if you thought Miles Teller was over this and not caring in Insurgent, well, just prepare yourself for Allegiant. He has so many more moments of I don't care, and he is cast in a role where him not caring completely fine within the realm of this movie, because it honestly was the only moments of the movie that really brought a smile to my face and like, oh, what's he gonna do next? You thought you could beat me, Triss? That was some of the best parts of the movie. They were the best parts of the movie. And then, but outside of that, these like I said, these characters are uninteresting and honestly kind of unlikable, because at one point Triss shoots an unarmed soldier in cold blood, just straight up murders him, and we're supposed to think it's entertaining and fun because, hey, action! I also think that as I said earlier, the special effects are laughably bad. The green screen effects look embarrassing. Like, we're not quite Gods of Egypt bad, but still very bad. And then Christopher Nolan talks about special effects and computer animation, especially computer generated effects, how he likes to use them as a way that jumps off of a practical effect, something that is actually in the set, that is actually there, and then uses computer effects to mesh it with that. This is just straight up computer effects, completely synthetic. So when we have moments of somebody waving their hands and these little drones fly around, it looks like they're pasted onto the frame. It does not look like they're interacting with the subjects in the movie. And that was shocking. And then there's special effects that are meant to interact with the actors. Like, there's a moment where they all get these little stupid, embarrassing looking bubble things for transportation. And then there's this weird shower thing that they go through, which was stupid to look at. Now, here's the thing. When you're making a young adult dystopian sci-fi, when you're making a sci-fi movie that has technology that is out of the realm of realism, that's, oh, we're trying to make up this kooky thing, you're on the risk of looking stupid and looking silly and kind of embarrassing yourself by having a reliance on these things. And, you know, you gotta know the risks and you gotta know the failures, and this movie fails at that. This movie looks stupid. I really didn't like this movie, and also there's a whole thing about purity and being 100% pure, that the implications that the message has by the end of this movie is a little questionable. The one good thing I'll say about this movie was it does feel like its own story. Like, it does definitely feels like a sequel to Insurgent, and it's going to have a sequel called Ascendant, but this actually doesn't feel like setup for the conclusion. This movie is the Allegiant, the book. Allegiant, the movie, is based off of one half of Allegiant, the book. And then the next movie, Ascendant, is going to be based off of the second half of Allegiant, the book. And surprisingly, this does feel like its own standalone story. It kind of stands up on its own. It has a beginning, middle, end, conclusion, etc. So that was nice. That was all right. Congratulations, you weren't just entirely set up. Anyways, I am giving the Divergent series Allegiant a 3 out of 10. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm Connor. Bye.